Welcome to Let Me Talk to My Customer. I am your host, Chad Counts, along with my co-host, Richard Tyler. Rich, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Chad. How are you?
I'm doing well. You're out here joining me on the left coast. We're both out here experiencing winter in California, if there is such a thing, the mythical winter of southern and coastal California. So
Yeah.
a lot of moderately cool days with some fog and maybe a little bit of wind, but it's not too bad. We are also none of us really know what that feels like because we're all held captive inside. We're not allowed to leave our bunkers, to leave our compounds
It's true.
for today anyway. So we can only assume that the weather is what they report. If you trust your local media, we'll leave that to you, our listener, to decide. So Rich and I were joking joining here. This is our, we think, 300th day of March this year in 2020. We're excited to see, supposedly, we're going to get a change here in the not so distant future, but I'll believe it when I see it at this point after we're on round 3 with Corona here. So all jokes aside, we hope you all are doing well. We know this is the holiday season, which I think this year obviously is going to be different for everybody, both in terms of whether you're able to see your family or not, whether you've lost any loved ones or are just more distant from them this year. Everything's going to be felt so much more this holiday, and even just having to make an active decision on whether you're going to partake, right, and whether you're going to join with your family or not, going to make that trip or not. Is, I think, a big challenge. And we're not used to having that. So I think we're valuing our family, our time, our risk so much differently these days. So we hope for you guys that that's a positive experience. And if nothing else, make an extra effort to let those special people in your life know how much you care about them, whether you're in person or not, or however you're joining with them. I hope there's more time spent just appreciating each other. And I think we are a sales podcast here. We're do auto recycling and sales pod, but our employees, our staff, our customers are all going to be thinking through and having these same things in the background of their life. So it's never bad to have what's happening around us and where people are at in our forefront and in our minds, just to be able to connect and be authentic and genuine with our customers. So we wish you all well. We hope you've been able to manage having a really good 2020. I know on the sales front, it's been really great in our industry. So we hope that your results reflect that too. We will have a new salesperson training, a couple quick announcements in January, probably on Thursday or Friday. Not necessarily the first week, but probably the second week of January is where we'll be looking to kick that off. So if you've hired anybody recently and you're going to stick with them, they're somewhat familiar with your inventory system by now, then this would be a great time to join our training. It's $100 a week for a 4-week series. I don't think you're going to find a better rate or experience for them. They'll be joined by other new salespersons as well. And so they'll have that benefit of learning from other people's initial experiences and their trainings and their time together as well. We also anticipate we'll be rolling out some of our other ongoing sales trainings in January and February as well. We had another request to do our closing series again, so that might be another series we bring back up, or we might look at adding value and our brokering partnerships and that sort of thing. I think that's been a really valuable area as well. So we are growing. We're growing our network here. We're growing our customers here. So we're so thankful for all of you who, whether just listeners to the podcast or you've actually been able to join us in our services this year. We're incredibly grateful for you guys and you all, and hopefully you'll patronize us again and give us another chance here in 2021. Also, I don't think I've mentioned this enough, but Rich is fluent in Spanish as well. So any of you guys who have bilingual or Spanish sales personnel, I think if we get enough of you guys to reach out, would either love to put on a series just for you guys. We do have our content available in Spanish. Or if it's one-on-one coaching that you're looking for, I think that would be a great fit as well. Okay. So thank you for allowing us to do that spiel. Find us on Facebook, Counts Business Consulting, YouTube, Counts Business Consulting, or LinkedIn, Chad Counts. You can find me there as well. We try and be multiple in how you can find us and connect with us. So we'll always want to make that easy for you guys. So we're going to enter a new series here to end the year, probably a 3 or 4 part series. These will be not as long of episodes, probably in the neighborhood of 15 minutes or so, 15 minutes or less. They'll be quickies. But we're going to be looking at sales traps, or what we're calling sales traps. And what I mean by that is there's a number of either relationships or customer events or occurrences that happen throughout our day, or almost every week or every day for our salespeople. And these interactions with either a certain customer type or a certain kind of event get us out of our sales process. They often lead us down a different path that's not as productive and not as helpful. So the one sales trap in particular today that we're going to address is when there is part or interchange confusion. Okay. I don't know how many times a day this happens. I think it depends a little bit on the makeup of your yard and how much you're wholesale and how much you're retail. I think this can be thought of as primarily retail with customers that aren't familiar or maybe a little bit confused with what part they have. But I've seen this often enough too with wholesale, where either the part number they're asking for, or what the customer's information the customers provided them and what they thought they had doesn't match the VIN when we run it, or a number of different confusing steps there is too. They're not immune from requesting an incorrect part or having discrepancies in our interchange and our part lookup process. But anyway, that's our situation that we're going to unpack today. And we're going to talk through what that impact is, what typically happens on our calls when we meet that. And then how do we respond to that? How do we adjust that? How do we turn that or keep that as a good sales opportunity instead of a trap that leads us into some bad habits or keeps us from doing our job or completing our job to the level that we'd like? So, Rich, I'm going to turn it over to you now. When you're hearing this kind of interaction or this sort of situation come up where there's part confusion, how does that typically impact a call for our sales personnel?
I usually refer to it as getting lost in the weeds. It makes the first part of the call too long. It makes them kind of lose focus on what needs to be happening on the call, because of the fact that maybe it takes 3 or 4 minutes to figure out what the heck it is that the customer is looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the biggest way that this situation impacts sales personnel, and this really has a cascading effect, in my opinion. We're used to being able to run through our phone calls, and most sales reps that we talk to, they want it 90 seconds to maybe 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. And when you're talking about a call that just from the outset, we can't even get on the same page, or we're going back and forth on what we're doing. And so, it might not take 3 minutes. It might take that 2 minutes like Rich was talking about. But either way, when our sales reps start to engage in that kind of work where they're really digging into what it is, what it could be, looking at the discrepancies and what's going on, clarifying, making sure we're on the same page, a lot of time, because they put all that work in, a common response from the salespeople is then just to move into price and move into the quote or move on with the call. Right. There's this sense of, oh, well, I've already done this. I don't want to go longer than my 90 or my 2 minutes. I just got to move on. Mm-hmm. And that's regardless of whether this is a $5,000 part or $200 part. It does not matter. When this happens, it is exceptionally rare that our salesperson counters this and still keeps this or turns this back into a sales opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so, Rich, if they were, or what would they need to do to turn this back into a sales opportunity? What did they need to be mindful of? What should they really prioritize to turn this back into a sales opportunity?
I think they need to, once they make sure that they have correctly identified the part, they just need to remember their process. I think that the fact that they get, like I said, stuck in the weeds totally removes them from the fact that there is still a process that needs to be followed.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think you either reach agreement or enough consensus on what the part is, or you don't. And if that case, if you know you're not going to reach it, or you need additional information, we've talked on other podcasts about, okay, in the call there's no point in giving a price or moving on. Say, okay, this is the information I need. I would love and be more than happy to help you out once you get this information for me. Either get the VIN, get the part number, call me back. Okay. So assuming that we've been able to reach some sort of consensus that this is the VIN, this is the part, and this is what we're talking about, you as a salesperson need to have something that gets you back to the beginning of your customer qualification part, or get you back to the sales opportunity part of the call. My recommendation on that is, and typically this is needed still at this point in the call, ask their name. Oh, who am I speaking with again? And you're with this shop and you're at this location. Excellent, great. See, we've done business with you before. Okay, so when are you looking to have it, right? So you need to have basically a question or something in your pocket that can loop you back to where you would have liked to been at the 30-second mark of this call, or the 45-second mark.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's a good reset, is asking again, who am I speaking with? I feel like that is great at bringing me back to the process that needs to happen.
Yeah, because you're almost so far down a different path that you're, okay, where do I even come back to? What do I even come back to? For others of you, it will be really challenging even to think to go back to the name. But I don't mind doing a brief, put the customer on a brief 10-second hold. Okay, what do I need to get back to? And resetting, or even just physically taking a deep breath. All right, I'm seeing my notes. Name, where, okay. Have something, whether it's Post-it notes or something that can cue you back into getting this into a sales opportunity. Mm-hmm. And let me make sure I clarify this. When I'm talking about a sales opportunity, I'm talking about not just giving the customer information, right? Rich is really good on this. It's like, it's 99% of this interaction ends in an informational call. It's like, okay, we think it's this part, it's this price. Okay, call me back. There's nothing done. I don't know why they need it. I don't know when they need it. I don't know if they're looking for mileage or condition or warranty. I know none of that. We spend so much time figuring out the part that literally all we do after that is we give them a price and we're done.
Yeah, it's totally understandable that it happens, just because of the frustration of having to like go through a rigmarole that you don't typically have to go through.
Yeah. And the frustrating part is you've done the hard work then. There might be a number of other salespeople that didn't catch that. And if this person is more confused or less capable of finding this information for themselves, I'm actually protected as a salesperson. This is an opportunity that other people are going to be less capable of fulfilling for this customer, right? Because I'm giving them information. I'm confirming that it's right. I'm doing a lot of valuable things. But my objective as a salesperson, not just to be somebody that gives out prices. I don't want to just be a website. I don't want to be an empty portal of information.
Right.
I want to connect with what they're looking for, why they need it, and make sure that the sales opportunity is still present. Okay. So this is a big trap. I mean, this is one that happens often, and I would say for many of you out there, it's very much a frustrating call. And a lot of my larger concern is once we go through this, I think this is a waterfall type of call that then I would not be surprised if our next 4 to 5 subsequent calls end in informational calls, right? They get us so out of rhythm that this becomes just, we're not back in the flow of having a conversation with our customer and what their problem is. We're only focused on the part and the price, which is a big detriment to us.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So that is sales trap part 1 for us. We do have a number of others. We have 3 other ideas that we're going to be running through as well. If you guys happen to think of anything that gets you stuck, gets you off kilt, so to speak, reach out, let us know, comment on our YouTube page or Facebook. Let us know what your ideas or what kind of traps that you fall into that you'd like us to address on the show. Again, we are here for you as sales professionals and sales reps. And so we want to deal with the things that are most important and meaningful to you guys. So wherever you're at, whether our listeners over in Europe or in Asia, in the Philippines, or Australia, New Zealand, Canada, United States, even occasional South America. Thanks for joining us and finding us, and we look forward to speaking with you further. We hope you are doing well wherever you're at in the world, and wish you happy holidays, and look forward to speaking with you guys next week. All right.
Take care.
Thanks, Rick.